Hello everybody, this is online yoga, Move Easy, yoga online with Via, and it is August 3rd, 2020. We're going to do the side-lying series today, and also talk a little bit about my workshop I attended Saturday with Dr. Lauren Fishman on yoga and osteoporosis. But first we're going to start in the normal, ordinary way, supine, knees bent, vagus nerve reset. Bring your hands behind your head. And don't move anything except your eyeballs. And move your eyeballs to the right. And wait for a swallow, sigh, yawn, or gulp. Come back to center. Go to the left. Shift the eyeballs to the left. Wait for a sigh, swallow, yawn, or gulp. And then repeat that 2 more times, 2 more sets, right, left, right, left. Well, Frida, why did you stay there like that? And then go ahead and start to do ramping. Just pressing the back of the skull into your interlaced fingers and your hand. And then finish up. And start to notice your breath. And choose a breathing pattern that you like and practice that. I'm going to shut the door because I can hear a car leaving the garage. You could do extended exhale breathing. You could do the box. Count to 4 on your inhale, pause for 4. Count to 4 on the exhale, and pause for 4. You could do Viloma breathing, which is one of my favorites now. or rib cage breathing. And then we're going to go ahead, because I'm a little concerned about time, we're going to go ahead and come up to seated to a just your most comfortable floor-seated position. And I'm going to start to talk about a little bit about what I learned at the workshop. Osteoporosis is a thinning of the bones. It happens pretty much to everyone. The bones start thinning at 40, and actually how thick they are, how strong they are, depends on how much activity you had as a child. And you may want to be measuring your bone density every couple years after your the first initial one is like a landmark, and then you measure it a couple years after that. If you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, you risk falling and breaking your bones because they are very they're weak. The structure is weak. Movement, there are medications which I do not recommend, and neither does Dr. Fishman. Movement, specific kinds of movement will actually restore and reverse weaker, unstrong bones. And that's what I went to a workshop about, because this guy in New York City he's a physical medical doctor, and he's a yogi. And he years ago started introducing yoga poses to his students with osteoporosis, and with, by the way, some other issues, lower back issues and stuff. But this was about osteoporosis. And the pose, so he's developed a method of working, and some of it we can incorporate into our practice. And I just want to say that good posture and a straight spine is at the top of the list for him. And also he does not want, he tries to help people stop rounding the upper back, stop rounding, or the lumbar, any of that. Oh, please don't do that, Kathy. Ouch. It's because if you do have osteoporosis or osteopenia, and you round, what happens, and this happened to me, by the way, last year and a half. So I know what it's like. It's extremely painful, and your bones just crumble. And what happens is at the front. So if you round forward, what happens is it compresses. They're called compression fractures, and it's at the front of the spine. So when you round, you risk a compression fracture if you have bone density issues. He has a lot of twists, and I think I'm going to add more twists, specific twists, not today particularly. He would have forward bends altogether, all the yoga forward bends. You get down on the floor. Maybe I'll have Kathy show you. It's similar to getting up, but he has you get down on the floor without rounding your back. So basically you would put your knees, go ahead and try to do this, Kathy. Put your knees in a Z position. So both knees are kind of forward. And actually, the way he does it is both knees are forward, and the top ankle is resting on the bottom, the arch of the foot. The knee, no, not that way. So it looks it's more like that, only bring your knee, not that either. Bring your knee forward, bring your top knee forward, bring the back knee forward, and rest your ankle on the arch of the other foot. It's like that. more like that. Drop your knees, both knees. Now, from there, and this, by the way, I suppose is a seated, good floor seated position, although it's terribly unsymmetrical. And then just fall down, walk down with your arms to the floor, to the side. Walk all the way down, and then extend your legs and roll over on your back. So that's how you would do that, rather than rounding, any rounding. It's similar to our getting up position that I say is safe. So he does that. That's how he would have you do it. He really tries to make sure you're not rounding the back. And each pose and we do some of these poses, and when I do them, you'll know because I'm going to time them. Each pose that he suggests loads a joint location and holds it for 40 seconds, 30 or 40 seconds, to allow the osteocytes to activate bone building. The body has the ability to rebuild, but you have to ask it to do that. And and he's looking at poses that activate osteophytes in the spine, the femur, the acetabulum, which is the little indentation in the pelvis where the head of the femur sits, the wrists and the ribs, because all of those areas are at risk for breaks. And one of the things he said was, he kept saying was it's a dose response. So the more you do, the better the results. And he has 3 series. The first has been proven by a scientific study to reverse osteoporosis. The second added wrists and has just been completed, but test results not in yet. And the third has not been tested yet, and he added ribs to that study. If I do any of these poses, any poses that I think are vaguely similar to Dr. Fishman's, or vaguely might affect this this condition, I will hold it in case you will know what that is. We're going to start with a couple of poses that we already do. Lying on your back with a strap, we're going to do leg stretch 1 and leg stretch 2. So remember to get down on the floor without rounding your back. If you don't have a diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis and you had a bone density test, maybe you don't have to worry so much about straight back. You need a strap. I should have mentioned you need a strap.
You did.
Okay, so stretch number 1, and he does stretch number 1 and stretch number 2, and he doesn't do 3 because he says it rounds the back. So we're going to do it, we're going to hold for 40 seconds so that we can make sure that there's going to be osteocytes, bone building happening at the, basically at the hip, the femur and the acetabulum. Well, the right leg goes up to the air. Well, you probably put a strap around it first, around the metatarsus. And trying not to round, so we're trying not to round the back. And now we're going to stay here. So leg up toward the ceiling, strap around the metatarsals or the metatarsal pad, and then start to just breathe and wait for 40 seconds. Keep your hip or your pelvis on the floor. And breathe. So, you know, each of these poses does many other things. It just happens that this also would help with bone density. Stay on the right side and take your leg out to the right. You can hold on with your right hand. Just hold on to both straps, with both sides of the straps with your right. And Bring it out, but keep your both hips on the floor. So your left hip stays on the floor. You may or may not get your leg to the floor. And then if you do get it to the floor, you may or may not get it up towards your chin. And your opposite leg can be straight or bent. And you may want to put your hand, whoops, I stopped, didn't time. You may want to put your hand on your hip, on your the hip that's trying to move away from the floor. That one. And just breathe and wait. So if ever I'm timing for 40 seconds, you know that I think this is a bone building pose. I'll switch to the opposite side. And straight up to the ceiling first, and then towards your nose, actually. So it's really toe to nose pose. So even rounding the pelvis, tipping the pelvis up, is a rounding of the, could be a rounding of the lower spine. So trying to keep the pelvis flat on the floor. We do a lot of these things already. Go ahead and take your leg out to the left. Try to keep the hips and the pelvis flat on the floor. And just breathe. You can put your right hand out along the floor if that helps to keep the body on the floor. Out in a T. And that's the end of that. Bring it back and come up to a standing. I'm going to show you one of the things I walked away with that I really liked, and we'll probably be doing a lot of this, or every time we stand maybe, is stand against a door actually is better than a wall, but a wall is okay too, because the door is slippery and you're going to stand up, bring your arms up over your head by your ears, take your hands back onto the wall, and try, so you're standing in good posture. And you're going to try, you're going to open your chest, push your chest out. This should not involve the lumbar spine. So if it does, turn your back to the wall. The back is to the wall. Arms overhead. And then take your hands and take them onto the wall behind you, and around the upper back. It's a back extension, sort of like what we do on the floor. More than that, Kathy, if you can.
I'm not sure what you want me to do.
Let me see if maybe I can do it myself. But so your hand, bend your elbows. Bend your elbows. Bring your arms, palms facing the ceiling. It's like that. Now, yes, it's more like that. Now, see if you can arch your upper back. The rib cage spreads. The upper back arches out away from the wall. You can walk away from the wall a little bit and see if this allows you more space to do this. Crawl your arms down the wall. Since this is new to you guys, it's, it's okay. I don't know that my demonstrating it, I mean, I can try it, but I don't know necessarily that it's going to be any better than Kathy's. But let me see if I can stand up and find a place for this, find a wall and find a place for, my problem is I don't have anything to put this high upon. Maybe here. Oh. Okay, I am going to see if I pin video. Here I am. There's the wall behind me. And if I break my computer, I'm gonna really.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. There. Wall behind me. And basically, you can't see the bottom, but I think that's not as important. Basically, you're trying to get your chest out, crawling away from the wall.
Okay.
It's literally, what I love about it is, can you feel the effort that goes into because you're pressing against the wall, I think it's an even better back extension than the one we do at the end of the class, because of the effort that's required to open your chest, and then the pressing against the wall with your hands. Okay, there's that. So you want to try it, Kathy? I am going to pin Kathy again. Okay, good. So you can see that the hands against the wall is what creates some of the work. And the work is what creates, you're working on the upper spine, which is actually where I had my compression fractures. And I think this is a very good thing, would be a very good thing to be doing to avoid to build bone density, rebuild bone density.
Feel it more down here.
Well, if you're feeling it in your lumbar, then you should change the position a little to keep it out of your lumbar.
Well, it's just more intense.
Oh, it's more intense? But it's not painful?
No, but I can feel it down there when when we're on the floor.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I would try to keep it out of lumbar, actually.
So beside your hand, nothing else touched the wall. Is that right?
Yes, nothing else is touching the wall. And your chest is opening up
Yes.
away from the wall. And you should feel it between your shoulder blades, is where you're trying to feel it between your shoulder blades. Now, let me say that this might take a while for people to get used to doing this.
Yes.
But I like it a lot. And I think, and of course, you're going to hold, right? You're going to hold for 40 seconds here. Yeah. I like it a lot. I was infatuated with this move. I thought, this is easy to do. Kathy's like, I beg your pardon. This is easy to do. You're going to have to work on it, but
Yes.
you can see how, I just thought this was a great pose that probably is more bone building because of the tension that you're putting with the arms against the wall. I think it increases, although, by the way, Dr. Fishman did another one. So everybody get down on the floor. We're going to do the side lying series. So expect to do more of that. Please practice that at home and see if you can, figure it out for yourself in a way that please don't harm yourself. There are we can work up to this in other ways too. That's kind of extreme. We could do this something similar, seated on a chair with your arms on the back of the chair or the side, and then pushing your chest out in front of you. Can you imagine that? Would also be a pose. Lie on your back. Lie on your side. And we're going to start doing the side lying series. Those are three of Fishman's poses. So this is a great series. Notice we're not holding anything for 30 or 40 seconds, so we're not probably not building bone here, but we're doing a lot of other things. Starting with the top hand parallel to the floor and protraction and retraction. Using the scapula only. So remember, you've stacked your shoulders, your knees, your hips, your ankles. Make sure the bottom shoulder has room to stack underneath the top. And then the scapula is moving away from the spine for protraction and towards the spine, retraction. Let's do about 6, and we probably already have. And then the next one is just to open your arm up toward the ceiling, open and close. And open and close. And you want to do these as slow and aware, with as much awareness as possible. Slow helps, breathing helps. Thinking about what's happening on the inside helps. Do one more. And then the next thing you're going to do is keep the arm up toward the ceiling. And the third of this triplet is internal and external rotation. I like to put my hand right on the humerus. And then you internally rotate and externally rotate. The trick is to do this activity at the arm bone, not at the elbow or the shoulder. You can make a fist of your hand, and that might help to avoid initiating this movement from the wrist. So initiate from the shoulder, the wrist moves, obviously. The wrist and the elbow move because the shoulder moved. And then go ahead and stop that. Bring your arm down by your hip. Top arm by the hip. You can shake it out if you want. And then we're going to do snow angels. So the first thing you do is bring your arm all the way and externally rotate as far as you can go. Palm is toward the ceiling, and then bring your arm up over by your ear. By that time, the palm is facing the floor. Palm faces forward, so it's a small adjustment, and then come on back. Start at the hip with the hand facing up toward the ceiling and bring the arm up. When you bring your arm down, your palm is facing forward. Make sure your shoulders are stacked, that you're not leaning backward with your top shoulder. And do it a couple more times. And one more. And then go ahead and make a circle with your shoulder, with your arm and your shoulder. You can start backward or forward, doesn't matter, just as long as you remember which one you started with. And you can reverse it. Maybe you don't have to remember as long as you do it, and then you say, oh, now I go the other direction. This is it. I love this pose, this movement. And whenever you're ready, do about 6 the other direction. We're doing the short version because I don't know how we're gonna look at for time at the end. If I say 6, you can know we're doing the shorter version, and if I say 10, the longer version. Figure out the teacher, what she's up to. Did I tell you to switch or no?
No, but I did.
Oh, I hope everybody did. The last thing we're going to do in this series, this triplet, is flying pizza, half of a flying pizza. Your elbow is bent, your forehand is out to the floor, parallel to the floor, palm down, and then you bring it back, the forearm only, and move the wrist so it's facing the palm is facing the ear by the time you reach the top. And then you come back down and you should feel this. Make sure your shoulders are stacked. It's really important on this one. You should feel it in the back of the shoulder, at the shoulder blade. Rotator cuff. This is a great move to strengthen rotator cuff. And when you're finished with 6, let's go ahead and extend your legs. You can just extend the top one if you want, and you keep the bottom one bent, or both legs extended. Lifting the top leg, leg lifts. You can droop the foot, and up you go, and return. And be sure to keep the hips stacked. Come back to neutral, and then bring the foot forward and point the toes, dorsiflex, and bring the foot backward, leg backward behind you, and point your toe. Plantar flexion. So you get a little bit of foot and ankle work here too, but this is really about the glutes and the hip joint. And flexion and extension in the hip joint. When you come back all the way to the back, you can squeeze your glute, pause and squeeze your glute, and then come forward. Probably the forward movement, the flexion, is going to be bigger than the extension. You don't need to use your torso for this. Nothing is happening except in the hip joint. Well, in the ankle joint, something is happening also, if you're dorsiflexing and plantar flexing. And then go ahead and bend your knee and stack your knees. And then open clams. So the top knee comes away from the bottom knee, but the feet stay together. Feet and ankles stay together. Heels too, Kathy. Up you go. Don't bring your hip back. It's just the knee. This is a rotation now, abducting, adducting. Keep the torso and the hips, pelvis still. If you want to, you can make this into a Kihara resistance stretch by bringing your knees a little closer forward, putting your top hand on your knee, and creating resistance in this very same movement. So when the knee comes up and wins, the hand is resisting that movement. And when the hand wins, coming down, the knee resists the movement of the hand. And one more. Clams with resistance. Flip to the other side. We'll do the side lying series on the other side. Stacking shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles, feet. The first one is protraction, retraction of the scapula. Remember, this is a scapular movement. Everything else is still, or as still as you can get it. See, if it's not still, just notice that that's what you do, and see if you can quiet everything else. The scapula pulls away from the spine, it returns toward the spine. Protraction and retraction. The arm is straight. The arm moves because the scapula moves. One more. And then bring the arm up to the ceiling and back down again to parallel to the floor. And just open and close. Sunrise, sunset. And one more. Keep your arm up toward the sky, and you can maybe put the fingers on the other hand in front of the arm bone, and internally rotate first, and then externally rotate. So the whole arm turns at the shoulder. Make a fist so that you can help keep this out of the wrist. The movement begins at the shoulder, and the elbow and the wrist move only because the shoulder joint is moving. And that's the end of that triplet, 3 of those, and then bring your arm down by your hip for snow angels. And then you start with an externally rotated arm bone and bring it up by the ear. And then facing the palm forward as you bring the arm back down. So when you start at the hip, the palm is facing up to the ceiling. The arm comes up by the ear. Make sure you're stacking your shoulders. Palm is facing down at the end. Bring it forward and then come back. But the movement is at the shoulder joint though, not the hand. Do a couple more of those. And then the next thing you do when you come back is you start a shoulder circle. If you don't have room to keep your arm straight and extended, you can put your hand on your shoulder and make it a half of a shoulder circle, a bent elbow shoulder circle, basically. Keep the torso quiet. It's all happening it's a circumduction, which means that you're actually doing all of the various directions of motion available at the arm and the shoulder. And if you haven't switched sides, switch already, switch directions. Switch now. This is like a big old yawn for the shoulder joint. And whenever you're ready, stop and we'll do the rotator cuff flying pizza. Let's show them the position first, Kathy. So the elbow is bent. I start to worry about whether people are watching Kathy or listening to me. I don't know which. So I have to say something in case you're not watching Kathy. So you start with a bent elbow. The elbow's tucked into the waist. The forearm forward and palm facing the floor. But then you move the forearm back and you move the wrist. So this is a wrist action. So it's facing the ear. And then you come back down. So back and forth you go. The pizza is actually the flying pizza part. You can't visualize while you're on the floor. You have to imagine yourself doing this while you're standing up. And then you're serving the pizza when your palm is facing, it would be the ceiling if you were standing up, but it's facing your ear. I don't know whether you needed to know why that was a flying pizza or not, but. And then finish that up. We've completed the 6 shoulder movements in the side lying sequence. Just extend your top leg, or you can extend both. And then lift and lower leg lifts. You can droop your foot, which will help activate the outside of the hip. Up you go. Keep your hips stacked. And one more. And now forward, flexion, extension. And when you come forward, dorsiflex. And when you, with your ankle and your foot, and when you come back, plantar flex. Point your toes, point and point. And remember, this is actually hip work, so it's also ankle work, but hip work. And probably the forward movement's going to be a little bit more available to you than the backward movement. When you go back, you could squeeze your glute. Pause and squeeze. And then whenever you're ready, finish up that move and stack your knees, your ankles, your hips, and then clams. So keep your heels and keep your ankles and your heels together, and then just open up. But if you think you're moving your pelvis, then make it smaller. So if you feel like you're taking your top buttocks back behind you, you've gone too far. Do one more, and then let's do add resistance, Kihara resistance. Bring your knees a little closer, top hand on the knee, and then moving back and forth, always moving with Kihara, always resisting. Something is resisting in one direction and something is resisting in the other direction. And this you should show up in your glutes fairly quickly. And stop. Let's go ahead and do, so that's the end of the side lying series. I hope it's something you could do almost from memory now. Lie on your belly. Lie on your belly, and we're going to just close with the prone movements. And I'm going to, so I think this prone movement is close enough to something that Dr. Fishman does that I'm going to call it a bone building pose, but we're going to do it a little differently. We're just going to do level 1, and we're going to see if we can hold it up for 40 seconds. Take an inhale to prepare and an exhale to come up, and then stay here. And I have a timer on now, and we're going to stay here and see if you can stay up for 40 seconds. You have 30 left. And if you want to, you can raise a little bit higher, but you don't want to get this into your lower back. So this is to strengthen the upper back, not to involve or let the lower back take over. And just breathing. You have 10 more seconds. And come on down. Inhale and exhale. Come on down. Good job. So we're going to go directly to airplane. And let's see, I don't know how directly. Let me see how to do this. And we're going to hold it for 40 seconds. So inhale to prepare. Exhale, the arms come up. Inhale to prepare for airplane, and exhale, the arms come out. Now I'm going to start timing 40 seconds, see if you can do it. If you can't, obviously, you're going to fall out early and work up to it. So, but if you can, and you might be able to even bring your chest up a little higher. But if you start to involve your lower back, stop. And you have about 15 seconds. Remember, you could be at the level 1, stay at level 1, or you can stay here at level 2 when we go to level 3. And come on back down. Inhale and exhale. Come on back down. Nice. So the next one we're going to go to is Superwoman, and see if we can hold that for 40 seconds. And remember, this might be the hardest. So take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift your chest. Inhale to prepare for airplane. Exhale, arms. Inhale, prepare for Superwoman. Exhale, arms come up in front of you. We're going to start timing and see if you can stay here. It's not a sin if you have to drop off. See, but just know that you're allowing the osteocytes to start building new bone in your upper back, in your upper spine. And you have 20 seconds left. And now 15. Remember, you can come down at any time. Inhale to prepare to come down. Exhale, the arms come out to the side. Inhale again, and then exhale, bring the arms all the way down. It might be nice to do a child's pose. I'm trying to think of that, if Fishman would think that was rounding the back. So you might do something restful right now. It could be a child's pose. But keep your back straight. And then find your way onto your back for the guided meditation, which I have to find, actually. Rita, you're going to have to get up here. I guess it's not there. There it is. Okay, remember that you just want to be warm and comfortable. And you may want to put something over your eyes. You may want to put a blanket over your body. I am going to stop my video so I don't have to look at myself talking. Start to become aware of your breath and breathing in and out, and observing the abdominal muscles as they rise and fall. Bring your awareness to the center of your eyebrows, center of your throat, right shoulder, elbow, wrist, right thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, right wrist, elbow, shoulder, center of your throat, left shoulder, elbow, wrist, left thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, left wrist, elbow, shoulder, center of your throat, spiritual heart center, right side of your chest, heart center, left side of your chest, heart center, navel center, center of your pelvis, right hip, knee, ankle, right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, right ankle, knee, hip, center of your pelvis, left hip, knee, ankle, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, left ankle, knee, hip, center of your pelvis, navel center, heart center, center of your throat, center of your eyebrows. That concludes your 61-point guided yoga nidra meditation. Go ahead and bring your awareness back to your body and your breath. Stretch your legs out along the mat and your arms overhead by your ears, and wiggle and stretch and circle your ankles and your wrists. Right side, left side. And hug your right knee to your chest and then your left. Rock your knees from side to side. And then roll to the side and come up. I didn't see your message or chat question earlier, Caitlin, sorry. Come on up. Oh, don't round your back. Find a seated, comfortable floor-seated position. You may want to sit on a brick. Try to find good posture. Caitlin, did you figure out your hands or no?
Yeah, I couldn't do it, but I knew what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, okay. All right. Was that the standing one on the wall with the hands? Yeah.
I'm gonna practice that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you to practice that. Let's go ahead and do Namaste, and then I'll invite you to practice that this week. I'm going to cancel the spotlight. I'm going to put everybody on gallery view so I can see you all. And then go ahead and bring your hands to your heart. Press. Release. Rock the base of the skull over the top of the spine, cervical spine. Nodding, bowing, acknowledging and honoring each other, the light in each other, knowing that we are all lights and we are all the light. And we'll close the class by saying to each other, Namaste.
Namaste.
Oh, it's good you all unmuted without my asking. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have any questions or comments about some of the osteoporosis movements, let me know. I'd like you to practice that standing arms overhead against the wall, pushing the chest out. I'd like you to practice that and see if you can figure it out. I think it takes some practice. And the other thing I wanted to say is, what was it? Oh, I've forgotten it now, but practice, practice, practice. Oh, I know, dose response. The more you do, the better the results. I'm going to turn off the record.